We all remember the Lorax, right? That guy that spoke for the trees and wanted to preserve the beautiful forests of the Truffalas so that all the other animals could continue to thrive in it. And then a human man named the Onceler invaded the forest and started using the Truffala tufts to make thneeds. And once his business started booming, he started using the resources at such a rapid rate that eventually the Truffalas were all gone. We all remember that, right? Why is that? How come the Truffala trees went extinct? We use natural resources all the time. What went wrong here? Well, the main issue here was the fact that the Onceler used up the truffle tufts so quickly that he didn't leave enough time for them to replenish themselves. Why? Well, the Lorax didn't intimidate the Onceler enough with his rules, and with no real regulations in place, there was ultimately nothing stopping him from using an unlimited amount of truffle supply. This concept is very real in our modern world. It is called the tragedy of the commons. By academic definition, the tragedy of the commons is the idea of a situation in which individuals with access to a shared resource, or a common, act in their own interest and, in doing so, ultimately deplete the resource. This was brought to public attention in 1833 by William Forster Lloyd. We've seen several examples of this in our world. To name one, deforestation. Clearing forests so that we can use the space for industrial purposes is one way to eliminate a pretty significant portion of an ecosystem. Another example is the idea of overfishing. If there is no catch and release restriction on a public lake, then it's likely that the body of water will eventually run out of fish altogether. Why is this important? Well, the tragedy of the commons is a huge way that biodiversity decreases. Although this theory has been myth-busted, the original idea that the woolly mammoths went extinct due to human hunting is an example of the tragedy of the commons. Also, fast fashion can be classified as a tragedy of the commons. Some brands burn the items that they couldn't sell rather than offering a discount, which is just a total waste of resources. So what's the point? What do we do about this? If there aren't any regulations on the use of the commons, then how are we supposed to know how to preserve public resources? As college students, the main idea here is mindfulness. If you're on a fishing trip with some of your friends and you're not planning on eating all the fish that you catch, be mindful. Release the remaining fish back into the lake. Also, as tempting as it may be, something that we can most certainly be mindful of as college students is by doing our best to stay away from fast fashion so that we can discourage companies from continuing to produce. Of course, these are only small measures that we can take individually, but overall, becoming better all starts with mindfulness, and education is the first step. With small efforts like those previously mentioned, hopefully we can learn to be more responsible about our resource consumption and ultimately bring the tragedy of the commons to an end someday.